I'm John O'Wells, and you're watching Modular World. Welcome to old viewers and new. It's great to have you here. Today we have two composers, Steve Flato and Noah Lifschey, and they're both so interesting in their own right. And the format that I'm following today is interview first, performance next. And the reason is that they both work so differently and so interestingly, and I want you to understand what you're going to see in their performances before you see it. All right. Please find ways to follow these artists. All their links are below, their socials, their Bandcamp. And that's what this is about, okay? Growing community. So let's do it. Okay. I'm not going to talk anymore. We're just going to get right to it with Steve Flato and Noah Lifschey. Noah Lifschey is here from Santa Monica, and you live just 2 hours north of me. We've got to figure out a way to hang out or have you down here or have me come up there.
Yeah. And we just found that out. I thought he was on the East Coast.
Right, right.
Uh, and we both have the same hairstyle also.
See, we should start a band.
We should. We should. I just gotta grow like more of a goatee than we can be like a matching unit, you know?
Or I have to cut off mine, but I did once, and I found out that I don't have as much neck as I thought.
As much neck as you thought. What do you mean?
My chin goes right into my neck.
Oh, I see.
And it's really, I was surprised. I was like, damn, when did that happen? So this is just a cover.
Got it.
This just makes it look like I've got a chin.
Ah, okay.
Because in reality, it just kind of like melds straight down. It's
Gotta
all a
be word for
facade, man. It's all a facade.
that.
So tell me now, you're a composer full time.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. And
What a life. That's just amazing.
it's cool. I mean, yeah.
And in
I
Los
can't.
Angeles too. I mean, my God.
Yeah. I feel pretty I got a lot of gratitude to be able to, to do it for as long as I've been doing it. It's not always easy. There's like a lot of this downtime and there's you're always looking for work and networking and all that. But yeah, it's kind of all I know for many years.
Like how many years?
I've been doing it professionally for, let's see, probably about 23 years, something like that.
Oh my
Um,
God.
when I moved to LA, I wasn't planning on even being a composer. I went to college and I came here and I wanted to be a producer and I was going to be in a band and be a big rock star and all that. So I worked at a recording studio, this hip hop studio, as an engineer because I was really into that at the time, mixing. And after about 9 months there, I was like, hell no. It was just sort of like slave labor, and I didn't like being on that end of it. It wasn't really creative for me.
Hmm.
So I got a job at a post-production house it paid much better and it gave me time to do my music and
Mm-hmm.
travel and stuff. And then I wasn't even planning on being a composer. I was just always writing music and stuff. And we had this is way back when infomercials were still happening. And one of our clients was this infomercial guy, and I heard him on his phone on the back saying, "We just lost our composer." And I'm normally not a type A at all. I'm just very quiet and kind of shy. And I turned around when he hung up because I knew him at this point. I said, "I'll do it." And I'd never done it before, but I just thought I'd try. And everything just somehow fell into place after that with people I already knew. And yeah,
Trial by fire is a motherfucker, isn't it?
it is. Yeah. I feel like,
Absolutely fantastic.
yeah, you just got to jump in.
I've done it my whole life.
Yeah.
My whole
But it's
life.
also, it's exhilarating too, right? It's like,
Oh, that's why I can't stop. Is that it's kind of it's addictive. Where I think that other people might be scared of doing, which I get, but it's addictive, man. You know,
yeah.
to be like, I'm gonna do that. I'm gonna do that today. You know, like I soldered and built my whole surge system, not really knowing what I was doing.
Mm.
You know, and I got on Amazon. I ordered some soldering kits. I did some soldering as a kid,
Yeah.
and making Heath kits. I'm aging myself here, and found out that I could solder those little beginner kits on Amazon, little Bluetooth speaker and shit. And then I was like, fuck it. Started ordering components and built a Surge paper face.
That's amazing, man.
But
That's
it's exactly what we're talking about. Like just throw yourself into it and just do it.
yeah, yeah. I'd actually be interested to hear what your experience was like. For me, that's what modular was like. I've been doing it maybe a little over 3 years in total,
Mm,
and
mm.
I had no idea what the hell I was doing. I just there's this guy here named Val, who you may or may not know of. He's a composer also, and I saw his some of his posts on Instagram, and I didn't really know that much about modular. And I was like, wow, this is freaking awesome. So I just called him up, and we talked for like an hour and a half, and then my gateway drug was the matriarch.
Mm.
And 3 years later, and almost zero money in my bank account later, this is happening. But I still sometimes feel like I don't know if you feel this way. You might be more of a mathematical mind. Like my mind doesn't do well with sort of math and that type of thing. So sometimes I still don't really entirely know what I'm doing.
Oh,
That's
I'm with you. I'm with
yeah,
you. I don't have a
hard to learn. Mathematical.
mathematical mind at all.
Yeah,
No, I'm completely right brain, and
yeah.
I look at this stuff, and I mean, thank God that your rack is a little easier with like modules that just do what they do, right?
Mm.
You know that this module does this. The surge stuff is like everything can do everything, right? Everything
Yeah.
can be an oscillator. And it's more like, so what do you want to do? And I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. And so right now, I'm at car alarm stage where everything sounds like a car alarm.
There's
Um,
probably a big audience for car alarm music. There must be.
well, I used to hear stuff like this and I was just like, who likes this sort of shit? But now I see how much it takes to make it.
Mm,
And I'm like, God, what I made this is the most beautiful car alarm.
I love that.
Do you know
I
what I
love that.
mean? It's
Yeah.
like, and my wife's like, shut the door. And I'm like, sorry. I shut the door because all that she's hearing is like, dee, 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 and I'm just like, it sounds awesome because the
You've
way
got
I've,
this giant smile on your face.
yeah, it's because the way I routed through the filter and I've got this feedback patch and I'm all excited about it. But to her, it just sounds god awful.
Yeah. I mean, that's honestly what was attractive about modular to me in the first place. I've been composing mostly in the box for years. I have a Juno 60. It's a long story. It's amazing. I got it for $200 right before everyone knew how amazing it was. And I just happened to buy one. A friend said, "Hey, you should check out the Juno 60." And anyway, so I've had that, and I play different like instruments like guitar and bass and whatever. But what attracted me to this was like the time it takes and the work. I'm really getting into the process of it. Like I like it much more than just being able to instantly call up any sound that I want, which I have to do for the speed of jobs sometimes. But
Well,
it's
that's what I
work
want to
I like
ask you
about it.
is that for composing, how do you do that where somebody wants an adjustment?
Hmm.
How do you do that with modular?
That's a funny question. So, I mean, I've made a good amount of sample packs with like some of this stuff, but that's not really modular. You're just stuck with those sounds kind of. So like what I usually do is I'll just create on it, and I often don't have anything specific in mind. I'll just screw around sometimes, or either even if I do have something specific in mind, I just kind of go for it. And yeah, I mean with audio, especially now, what you can do in DAWs is pretty remarkable. So if I need to change tempo, notes, key, whatever, that's fairly easy to do with audio. So that part is not as much of a challenge. What is if I really want to change something key about the sound, and it's like and it's gone. But that's also kind of part of what I love about it, that it's just final. I put it down and that's it.
But like, what if you get a cue change where it needs to be shorter?
Mm.
In the computer, you could just move some MIDI notes and change some stuff and just create something shorter. You save as into a new file. You have all your presets. How, how,
Yeah.
how would you do that here?
Yeah, I mean, just like I was saying with audio, the amount that you can stretch and transpose without,
Really?
yeah, with very little artifacts. I mean, there's a certain limit you can go to,
Right.
but I've never had an issue with that so far. It's pretty easy to adjust, and I'll often record like a lot of random stuff, like long tails and long heads and stuff on different. So I have stuff to play with.
Right. Okay.
But so far that hasn't been an issue. The only time I don't use this stuff is when there's a strict time limit and I just don't have time to do it.
See, this is a great show because you and Steve both work in film
Mm.
and have done film work and composing work. This is a great show. I'm really happy to have you on, man.
Yeah, me too, man. Yeah. It's all because of John G.
Oh man, that guy. Jesus. Well,
He's such a great human.
oh man. But see, you were the one who hit me up and said, "Hey, I've got this new record." That was for Dark Meditator, right?
That was, yeah, yeah,
And you said, could you do a review on your site,
yeah,
right? That's how that started.
yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, this is kick ass."
Thanks.
um, would you give us just a little bit of musical history of kind of where you've been in your life and kind of how it took you to where you are now?
Sure, yeah. So my dad was considered by many to be the the greatest classical oboist of ever. And he's so painfully modest to a fault that I had no idea till I was in college. I went to Berklee College of Music, and you have to take conducting classes and all that stuff there. And it was in my conducting class, the first day of class when I was a freshman, when the instructor said, he's doing roll calls, Noah Lifschey, and he said, "See me after class," which is kind of weird to hear in the first day. And he said, "Is your dad Mark Lifshay?" And I was like, "Yeah." And then he just went on a fuse about my dad. And I called home that night, and my mom answered, and I said, "Is dad like famous?" I literally had no idea. His job was to play oboe in the symphony. That's like what I knew about my dad.
Right.
And yeah. So yeah, I have a musical family. My mom also plays piano, and she was like a prodigy on violin when she was really young and then switched to piano. So I grew up in that environment, but classical music, which I wasn't interested in until much later in life.
Right.
Then yeah, I was always playing. I started on piano lessons and I didn't like that, so I moved to drums like around seventh grade or so. And then I just started to teach myself stuff like guitar and bass and
Mm-hmm.
whatever else. And yeah, always playing in bands.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna ask if you came up in bands. Yeah.
Always, yeah, yeah. I always hated
Me
practicing,
too.
and I still do. Like this is something. It's a little weird, but I don't know theory. Like barely the basics. I just do
Yeah.
everything by ear, which is cool. It can be challenging when you're dealing with other musicians, especially like if I have a string quartet that I'm recording and they're asking me,
Right.
yeah, like what chord is this or where do you want us? I'm like, well, go here. And I'll just, I have to sing it instead of being able to communicate it.
Right.
But so that's why I always enjoyed playing instead of practicing because I just hated sitting down and practicing. I just wanted to play.
Me too. That was what got me. I mean, I was a lazy kid, but that's what got me out of piano. I took classical piano as a kid,
Okay.
and I hated practicing. Hated it.
Yeah.
I saw my daughters go through same thing. I was like, "You must give me 2 years of piano. That's all I require. 2 years, please." And like to the month, they were like, "We're done now." You know.
But you understood.
I understood, man. I saw them
Yeah.
doing their little 20 minutes a day. All I wanted was 20 minutes a day. You don't got to practice for hours. You can for sure give me 20 minutes. Anyway, I'm glad I did that because now they're
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
very musical and they can kind of pick out stuff and but
I think it's super
they
valuable.
like me, like you, didn't kind of take to the theory super well and
Mm.
play by ear.
Yeah.
Just like me too, yeah.
And it's cool. I mean, I'm sure you experience this too. And it's not the people who know theory deeply, which honestly I wish I did at times, but um, you just do like what sounds good, and for me
Right.
that's sort of a part of my sound. I don't have any rules that I have to follow. Even with composing, I never really studied other composers. I just do what I think I like, and I think it makes for a really unique sort of sonic and harmonic palette.
Mm-hmm.
That's just me, I
Yeah.
guess.
I can read.
Oh, you
Um,
can.
I can, but I can't like speed read. Like if you said play this, I could, but it would take me maybe an hour to kind of get all the parts right and to learn it. People who
Okay.
could just sit down and kind of, play it through quickly, no, I can't do that.
Yeah, yeah.
Give me an hour and I can play it.
I mean, yeah, I mean, to be able to sight read is like that takes some serious practice.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a kid, like w one of the friends of our family is this guy Jonathan Biss, who's I think he's in his early 40s now, and he's just this amazing touring classical pianist. He's just beautiful, like vulnerable sound that he has, and but he was a prodigy, and he spent, you spend your entire childhood and teenagedom and all that like practicing. That's, I mean,
Yeah,
so it's a sacrifice one way or the other, I guess.
yeah, right. Would you rather practice or run shenanigans during during middle school?
Oh, that's a good question. I,
Shenanigans, man.
I'd probably say shenanigans unless the practice was playing in a band, then I would always rather do that, you know.
Well, for sure. That's some solid shenanigans right there.
That's true. Yes, yes. Even instruments that I wanted to play. I mean, very few people like you and your daughters, I'm sure, when your parents have you play piano, most kids are like, you don't really want to. Some kids probably gravitate towards it, but even when I learned guitar and bass, I still was like, I don't want to practice.
Right. Me too.
Yeah.
In bands, I was great as a rhythm guitarist. As a lead, I can't really.
Mm,
I just
same.
can't. I don't have the fingers for it. I don't have the ear for it. But rhythm, I'm your man.
Yeah.
I'm your
It's
man.
important. Rhythm's important.
Well, it's doable. It's a lot of bar chords too.
Mm, mm,
Okay,
yeah.
tell us about the set which you sent in.
Yeah, well, it's actually based on this cue I did a while ago. I think I actually did it for a library, a music library a long time ago, and I just happened to be uh going through some old stuff and I'm like, "Oh man, this is dope." It's like sort of a Nine Inch Nailsy kind of thing. And as I told you when we talked about the album, like I have I don't have ADD really, but like w when it comes to music styles, like I just want to do different things all the time, you know. For a few months I'll be really into ambient, and then I'll be into weird IDM, then I'll be into noise, and I'll be into I I just don't want to do one. I just can't help it. That's just what happens.
I'm with you, man.
Yeah. So this one's more beat based, and I also incorporated. I just got. Well, you probably can't see it, but I just got a Mini Freak, the Arturia, because
Mm-hmm.
we're going away for the summer, and I want to bring a little composing station. So I thought that'd be
Nice.
a nice little compromise because I can't bring this.
Right.
So yeah, yeah, I'm playing some chordal stuff over it too, which is kind of cool to
Rad.
add to the modular setup.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Uh, yeah, John G does a lot of that too. He sort of incorporates both things, which is fun.
Yeah, the hybrid systems are really where it's at.
Yeah,
We just
yeah,
got a bunch of stuff going.
yeah. It's fun that way. Yeah, yeah. And then it's just got a bunch of stuff in here. Yeah, I don't even know what the hell's going on. I have a I'm an artist with tendrils. And I feel bad because he posts about all of his artists and they have these really neat looking setups and everything's tied. I'm just like, I just don't. It's all a big mess and I can't get to stuff. And that's just
Right.
how my brain kind of works, I guess.
Yeah.
So it's not the prettiest to look at, but
Yeah, tendrils people are all like tying it in sweet and making it all tiny.
They are, and it's cool. Like I can see it's like having a clean studio. Like I'm naturally not the cleanest person. If I wasn't married to my wife, it would be a lot worse.
I'm with you there.
But like when I do clean stuff up, it's awesome. And the times I do spend time like, making corralling cables and all that, it's awesome. But it's the same as practicing, I guess. Like when I'm doing it, like I just don't care. I just like to plug stuff in and
But also, if all your cables are set up, that's like permapatch stuff. And
right.
I don't understand that at all.
I think it makes sense if you're doing more like let's say dance music or something, which is just not something that I personally really do, because then you can have much more of a stable sort of starting point because most dance music is uh you got your beat, you got so I
That's
think in that
true.
case, and I
That's
could
true.
be I could be wrong, but I feel like it's a little bit easier to have a pre-wired in some ways setup, so you're always starting in it from a known place
I pull
sonically.
out stuff every single time.
Yeah, same. Blank canvas every time.
Every time.
Yep.
Permapatch, I mean, even my clocks change.
Yeah.
Like some people, like I know a couple friends who wouldn't say they've got a perma patch. I personally would, but they claim they don't because the only thing which they keep up is like certain things.
Mm.
Like, well, I'm always going to use that as my clock. And I'm like, God, even that is so limiting.
Yeah.
If Pam's is always your clock,
Yeah. I mean,
why would you do that?
yeah, yeah. I mean, I guess I understand why. It's just not how. It's funny you mention that because for me, Pam's is probably the one because I do get my clock from there almost always. Like that's the one
Mm,
thing
mm.
that for me it's just like okay, I always know I'm gonna get a steady clock. Although I've been experimenting more with like with getting my clock source and gates from cycling envelopes and all that. I've just been kind of messing around with that more these days,
Hmm.
which is fun.
Yeah, wonky clock is all I want.
Mm,
That's all I want. And I mean, you could use. So my Benjamin is where I get a lot of clock because it's always fucked up and always different.
yeah.
But you could clock the Benjamin with Pam's and then have, you know, a beat that you can count on but still have wiggle room inside of that beat.
Mm,
Or you could work the other way. You could, modulate Pam's clock with CV in on Pam's.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I've done that too at times. And I have a feeling you're probably the same way, but I would assume everyone goes through this when you first start with modular. You don't really know where you're going to end up. So when I
Right.
first
Oh,
did it, I
yeah.
bought a lot of menu-based things because I'm used to a computer, and I ended up like hating that. I do not like menus now. I just want to be able to reach out and do something. Pam's is the one exception. Like that,
Pam's is a good exception, I think.
yeah, it's well designed, I think, as far as the menu system.
Do you have the new one?
I do, yeah.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you
Isn't
like it?
it cool? They've got those new tricks for um, doing cool ratchets finally and stuff like that. That's
Yeah, yeah. I haven't even like gotten into that yet, but I like the menu system, the screen, it just makes it a lot easier.
the
But yeah.
menu system's great. Yeah, it's always been good. Hooray, Pam's.
Yeah, good stuff.
What's next for you? What are you gonna release? What's going on after Dark Meditator?
Yeah, well, I was planning on a Dark Meditator too because I just had a bunch of those tracks I did for about a year. I got really into the weird film scorey ambient dark. I don't really know how to describe it. And I have enough for another album. I just need to actually upload it. So that's what I'm going to release next as far as the modular stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I have a couple film scores that should be released fairly soon. Um, but yeah, yeah, as far as modular, it's gonna be another album of those long, strange ambient things.
Fantastic. Noah, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your music and your wisdom. This has been a great conversation. Thank you so
Same,
much,
man.
man.
It was really awesome to meet you, sort of in person, and cool to find out we're close together is
Yeah.
and in space. And yeah, man, had a really good time.
Cheers. Here we go with the performance from Noah Lifschey.
All right, thank you, Jono. That was a blast.
Steve, I want to thank you for finally being on the show. I've been a fan of yours and I've followed you on Facebook, and that's where we started chatting, right?
I believe so, but before I even started talking to you, I had watched your assimilator videos. And I was like,
Oh,
oh,
okay.
it's Jonah. Okay, he helped
It's
me
that
learn the
guy.
assimilator. Yeah. So
I
that's how
don't,
I was familiar with you at first. Yeah.
that's cool. I don't meet a lot of people on Facebook. It's usually Instagram because our modular community is alive and well on Instagram.
Sure.
But yeah, you and I met on Facebook. That's really cool. Pro tip to anybody: hit us up on social. Okay.
It's the way to network
Oh yeah. I
these
mean, come
days.
on.
Yeah.
I mean, some people like you, I track down and I'm like, yo, we got to put you on the show. And mostly it's other people saying, I want to be on the show. You know.
Sure.
So I would encourage
Well,
others to do that.
yeah. Thank you for reaching out to me in the first place. I really appreciate it.
Well, yeah. So I mean, you're welcome. Sorry. Um, I'm like, well, yeah. So you're in Buffalo, New
Mhm.
York. What's the weather
Yes, I
like
have.
there now?
It's actually beautiful. I'm looking outside. It's like, what is it? 70? No, it's like 65 degrees out, which is great. I mean, I also lived in San Diego, where you are, right? You're in San Diego?
I am, yeah. I wish that we would have
Yeah.
known each other.
I know. That's so weird we didn't cross paths.
What a missed opportunity.
Yeah. I wasn't doing the modular then, but I was still doing, weirdo electronic music, for God knows how long now, since 2004. So.
So you've been out in Buffalo since then?
No, well, since I moved from San Diego, I moved to Buffalo in 2017.
Oh,
Um, kind of stayed here for like a quick minute, like 6 months, and then I moved to Portland, Oregon. Wasn't for me. I got really sick out there. I had all these allergies and stuff, health concerns come up, and then I'm coming back to Buffalo, and I've been here since the beginning of pandemic.
okay. God, we could have totally hung out, man. God damn it.
Yeah. Yeah, and we know. I think we definitely have some people in our periphery that we both know.
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
got to introduce you to Sam, because Sam, he was like the key connect to me in San Diego. Sam Lopez, who does Stay Strange, and he just does fabulous stuff too. He helped book a tour for me and Esteban Flores, Monochromacy, and we did a West Coast tour that Sam booked.
Stay Strange San Diego. I got to know that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, I'll definitely make the intro.
Okay. Thank you. So your whole thing is microtonal guitar work.
Yes, I would say so.
And I've heard that term, and I know it's kind of the space between semitones.
Yeah, so microtonal is any notes that kind of deviate from the regular 12 notes per octave that we have in Western tuning. Um, I play a guitar that's refretted to a specific kind of microtonal tuning
Oh
that's
my
called just
goodness.
intonation. Yeah. And it gets hairy. Like there's you get into the math and everything like that. It's really not so bad. But basically, the point of it is that it's based on the natural harmonic series that occurs in nature, rather than kind of like fiddling with the notes of the scale so that we could modulate to different keys easily. I'm not so concerned with that. Um, it's more making these beautiful natural harmonic resonances that occur just naturally if you play the right notes in between the notes.
The set you sent is just fascinating. What's the you mentioned earlier there's another piece that's attached to your guitar.
Yeah, so it's this thing called the Gizmotron. I'll actually have it right here. Um, so it's this. as you can see, it sits on the bridge of the guitar, um, and it's got wheels that sit above each string. And you press these little buttons, and the wheel descends onto a motor, and the motor spins the wheel, and it excites the string. So it's sort of like a mechanical polyphonic ebow in a lot
Got
of
it.
ways.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
How
And
did you get
yeah.
into doing this? I mean, what was the thing that got you in?
I saw so this the Gizmotron was like around since the 70s actually. And they had one that existed then, and it was just terrible. Like it barely worked. Um there was who is the band that used to use it? The guys that did 10cc. The two guys in 10cc like had the Gizmotron. I think maybe they were responsible for manufacturing it, but anyway, the company bought out that 70s company in the mid 2010s, and they made a Gizmotron 2.0. And I saw it on a music news site, and I was like, that sounds interesting. Um, and I'd been looking for something to kind of replace the EBO because I felt very limited by it. Um, and I gave it a try, and it just stuck. That with the microtonal guitar, they seem to go together.
And then how did you realize, hey, I want to combine this with modular? How did that part happen?
That's a good question. I think it was like a natural kind of slow progression where it was like, okay, I'm getting into modular. I see the use of these things that I could maybe do in the computer if I wanted to. I could do this maybe in software, and I had been. But then when I finally had the access to start doing it, like during the pandemic, um, I started playing with it, and it was just a natural progression because I was playing guitar anyway. Um, and I said, just sort of to myself, like, what's the way to extend this? What's the next step with these two things? And it just made sense to combine them and see what I could do with them together.
Would you say that your modular, I mean, it's obviously more than a big effects box for the guitar. You got a lot going on.
Sure.
So, but you've got this huge experience with a guitar. I mean, you've obviously been playing for a while. Would you give us a little bit of musical history for you?
Sure, yeah. I've been playing guitar since I was 12. My parents were in a wedding band. They ran wedding bands and like, corporate events, just like so I heard all the like not, the pop songs of the 80s and 90s through my parents rehearsing them. Grew up in that, and there was just instruments around, so I picked up a guitar when I was around 12. Um and yeah, it's been in the family for so long that I was always surrounded by it.
That's so cool. And then, so 12, you picked it up, but when did it really click and you started? I mean, did you come up in bands?
Yeah, I had a band in high school. It was like a very pretentious, like Smashing Pumpkins like rock band. Uh and just because that was the era and I was the age. Um and then, bands sort of broke my heart. Like they're so hard. There's so many relationships involved, and so many feelings, and so many, variables. I did end up joining another band after college, which is called Mouth to Mouth. And that was like a noise band. That was like probably the last like band that I was in that I would consider. Besides some like side projects here and there, of course. Um, but yeah, that was with Daniel Moore and Brian McComber, who uh, I've ended up working with throughout the years quite a bit too.
Speaking of working quite a bit, you have, and I think this should be so inspiring to other people. I'm going to scroll it right now looking at you have, well, I'm not going to count them, but your Bandcamp page is very built out. And of course, like always, all the links are below for anybody who's on the show. I've got all their socials and their Bandcamp. But seriously, my friends, take a moment and scroll through this extensive discography on Bandcamp. You've really produced a lot of music.
Thank you. Yeah, it feels nice to look back on it and be like, oh yeah, I did that. It's easy to forget. Like,
I think it's really
um,
important. I mean, your legacy is right here, you know? It's great.
totally, totally. Yeah, and hopefully I've made it as tight as possible. I've definitely put thought into like there's a compilation on there called Degenerate, which is just like a growing album of my generative modular pieces. So it's ever growing. It never stops.
So if you own this album, then it just suddenly has more tracks on it.
Exactly. Yep. I just upload more tracks. I'll change it around. I'll remix it. I just did a big reorganization about a month and a half ago. So it plays like pretty well, I think, from beginning to end for something that's piece by piece growing and always
What a great
changing.
idea.
Thank you.
That's such a cool idea. It says a continuing, evolving recording project. What a great idea, man. I kind of want to copy you and do something like that.
Oh, yeah, that I mean, it was one of those things where I was like, it was actually pre-modular. I was the first one is with a hydrosynth, and I was like, I made just like kind of a self-playing generative patch, and I had a friend over, Luke Schleicher, and he was like, I was like, I don't know where to end this. Like, how do I put this out? It's just always going. And he's like, why don't you just roll some dice? And that's how long it is. I said, okay. And that's how the first piece came out. So that was sort of the idea of like I could put things up to chance. I can make a decision based on something else that has nothing to do with the piece, or you know, it it kind of set the tone for the compilation.
That's so cool. This should be so inspiring to everybody listening, really. It's great, man.
Thank you so
Um,
much, Jonah.
would you tell us a little bit about the set which you prepared for the show?
Sure. So I'm looking at the patch right here. It's mostly based around the guitar, of course, and three body, the Schlappy three body complex oscillator. Um, so there's two voices from the three body, and they are quantized in the same microtonal scale that I play on my guitar on the Disting NT, which is the greatest quantizer for microtonal music, I think. Uh, those tones from the Schlappy are quantized to the same scale as the guitar, and they're playing just sort of a random set of notes within a certain bounds set by the stochastic inspiration generator,
I love that
which is
module.
oh, what a great module! It's so musical and it's so like it's inspiring. Like it's in the name, like it really is. Yeah, I put it on and I get ideas.
I had a friend over just a couple nights ago who was excited to see modular stuff, right? And
Mhm.
so I built a simple, subtractive patch. And he was like, cool, well, can you make something more like musical? Because I was just showing him just like what to do, like with a droning oscillator. And
Sure.
so I used the stochastic inspiration generator, and he was just blown away.
That's the way to go. It brings out the musicality in anything. Um, it's just such a great idea for a module.
It really is.
And I use it constantly,
Me
especially
too. Me too.
yeah, this is kind of an evolving set that I've had for the past 6 months or so, maybe since actually October when there was there's this it's called Avant-Garde Clue. It's a festival here up in Western New York, in Rochester. And I prepared a set for that, and this has sort of been growing since that. But now that I've got the quantized three body in it, that really like it's sort of the basis for the piece that I could play against now. So it's making those tones in the background that I'm responding to with the guitar.
Wow. As I told you earlier, I have had guitars on the show, but just nothing like this. Nothing even close.
Cool.
So you should be very
Yeah.
proud of that.
Thank you. Yeah. I mean, honestly, it's hard to know what I try and keep my ears open to what other people are doing, but when you play a lot and you're practicing a lot, the last thing you want to listen to is other things that sound like you. Uh,
That's
you
true,
know,
yeah.
so I'm not super aware of what's happening in that.
Tell me what's next for you. You've got all these amazing releases on Bandcamp. What's next?
So earlier in the year, we did this piece that had been lingering for a long time. It was this thing called In the Garden of Eating. And it's a duo with TJ Borden, who's the cellist. It's in just intonation, microtonal stuff, and modulars in there too. But it was a score that we wrote, and you have to go and eat a pretty significant meal at the Olive Garden before performing it. Anyway, we finally did it, and it's released on Full Spectrum, so that's in the rear view now. Um, I've got a track coming out on a compilation from Ratskin Records. That's going to come out soon. And right now, I'm just kind of gathering material. I'd like to release an LP in the coming year. That would be really nice. So hopefully, I can get something together for that. But besides that, just playing, playing out every chance I get, and recording and practicing. That's because that's just what I do anyway, you know what I mean? So hopefully I can cultivate that into some sort of new release. But I've got a big folder full of stuff that I've been going through, and it's ever growing. So hopefully I can manage to get it down to size. So I've done some like film work, and you see those films. Sometimes you do all this work, and it just sits on the shelf, like it doesn't come out, and you're like, oh my god, they paid money for this. Like why are they letting it literally collect dust rather than just release it on their streaming service? And they shelved it. So yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, if there's something that's worthwhile, I think letting it sit on a hard drive gather dust, is not a good thing.
I think it's straight up like disrespect to your art. I really do. Other than
Yeah,
being a missed opportunity and all that sort of stuff, I think we're really disrespecting what we're doing. I'm speaking to myself, disrespecting what I'm doing by not releasing it.
yeah,
That's
no,
just my
totally.
opinion.
I mean, no, I think you're totally right. I think you don't have to be like, the more precious you get about it, like the more it
That's right.
becomes like it's like you're selfishly holding on to it almost. You know what I mean? It's just like just let it go. That was a really hard thing for me to like learn coming up. Is like how to finish something.
Yeah. I think the best stuff I've done has been where it was just stereo out, and when I finished, it was finished. And
Yeah,
that's some of my
there's
problem is that this big folder of projects is a bunch of multi-track stuff.
yes, that is a huge thing. So I got this. Um, is I got I was lucky enough to beta test the new WMD Performance Mixer 2, and it's the best mixer I've ever used. But here's the thing: now I have multi tracks of everything, post fader or pre fader if I want, into my DAW. So it makes all these, you know, endless possibilities of what you could do with it afterwards. So
Which
not only
sucks.
that, which kind of sucks, yeah. So yeah, I've learned to like do very minimal uh mixing, and also just take a bus of just like everything on the stereo just for reference, you know.
Steve Flato, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your microtonal unique situation with us, man.
Thank you so much, Jonah. This is super fun. Super fun.
All right, so here's the performance from Steve Flato right now. Thank you so much to Steve and Noah for the performances which you created. Thank you so much. It takes a lot of work to record and come up with something, compose stuff like this. Thank you so much. And thank you to you for tuning in and viewing Modular World. Stay tuned. Coming up soon, we got great stuff. And if you want to support this show on Patreon, that's how I suggest. The link is below. And thank you so much for considering supporting Modular World. We'll see you next time. I'm John O'Wells.